Hi there, welcome back to our program. Our program, as you know, is covering business letter writing. And there are lots of things that we need to look at when we talk about business letter writing. We've gone through various types of letters, and now we are coming up to what we call a letter of appeal. This may be very good for you because it might mean in future instances you have to present a case, present an argument, or appeal to a particular customer or appeal to a particular client or supplier about certain things that you need done. So you need to be able to present yourself very well and put forward your argument. Perhaps it could be that there is unfair treatment that has been given to your organization or to certain departments in your company, for example. And a letter of appeal may be able to rectify this kind of situation. It more or less allows you to be able to state your side of the story, of course using the various facts there are to support your case and also your cause. And maybe you will be wanting the reader to reconsider your case, for example. Perhaps your company may have been accused of providing something that they did incorrectly, and you don't believe that that is the case, or if it was the case, that you may have reasons for that. So therefore, being able to state your opinion and your views and your ideas in a letter of appeal so that it can be reconsidered by the reader, then this is something that you need to be able to do. This letter too should be written in the standard business letter format. As we know, that is to the left side and following all the components that create that particular format. If we look at a letter of appeal, the first paragraph, as you well understand by now, is probably one of the most powerful paragraphs, because this allows you entry into the reader's mind. This is the point at which you really want to get that first connection. And so therefore you would introduce yourself in this first paragraph and you explain why you are writing the letter. It could be because this is a letter of appeal that emotions might be quite high, and therefore you do need to be careful to keep your tone at a medium level, to keep your emotions in check, so that you can show that you can present an objective point of view. So this is a very important thing to remember when writing a letter of appeal. Make sure that you are calm and you are thinking very, very clearly about the issue. So please do remember to keep the first paragraph as concise, as brief, and as clear as possible, so that the person who is reading this letter from you can immediately grasp the urgency of the letter. And usually letters of appeal are urgent. You are really requiring something in a serious situation, and you wouldn't be writing this letter if this wasn't happening and it wasn't urgent. So there you have it set first for you. The stage is set. The reader is wanting to immediately grasp what this is all about. It could be that you've mentioned this on the telephone to them, and now you are sending something in formal written form so that things can be documented. This is very, very important to remember when in business you need to record things and document things. The next paragraph in your letter of appeal should also be like a narration of what happened, the account of what has happened, and why your appeal to them should be favourably considered, why they should favourably turn their decisions around. So here you need to have information. That means all the necessary facts in order to give validity to your case, to make it a real, legitimate case. Now, you would have kept all your records and kept all your details of the particular issue. If you do need to obtain more information from people around you, then of course you will have done that before you begin to write your draft. So make sure that you have not left anything unattended to, that you have got all the information that you require in order to answer the requirements of your appeal letter. Here I say go back to that framework. Remember the framework that is in place, which outlines what you have to meet in order to write your letter. Then you can tick it off like a checklist. So after having gathered all of the information, or it may not be a very detailed gathering of information, it could be quite brief, but make sure you've got all that in place. And then the idea would be to start referring to your policy or guidelines that your company follows. This is important because then you have particular reference then to certain ways of behaviour on the part of your company. Also, be very careful to make sure you have the specific times and date of when the particular event did happen. You may need to go back and check through your records or your logs, depending on what the nature of the issue is. So make sure that all of this information is right there for you, right in the beginning. One style you can use in this particular way of writing your appeal is to use bullet points or numbering if you wish to make things really, really clear. If things need to be itemized, for example. And when you do that, then the reader can also quickly go to those points and see them very, very easily. They don't need to wade through lots of information. You might also have to refer to references or testimonials from other people. You might also have a transcript of records or certificates or whatever it is that is the nature of this particular appeal. So do be certain to cover every single aspect necessary to validate and to make real the story or the claim that you are trying to explain in this letter of appeal. Remember, there will also be a lot of information that you are going to include or attach as an enclosure to this letter. So make sure that those are also very well put together. They're in a very orderly fashion and numbered and very clear and precise, so the reader can have the benefit of your clarity as well when he's reading them. We then come to the last part of your letter of appeal. And in this part, it should really be a summary of everything you have stated above. Now make sure it is a summary and only a summary. Don't go ahead and make it as long as the part that you've stated above. So in order to do this, remember you do need to have a framework and you do need to be able to write up a draft, then go back and check it and tick off things as you've done them. When you're doing a summary as well, you do need to have a framework of that summary to make sure that it is only a summary. Many people or many writers fall into the trap of making the summary just as long as the content. And so really then, it's not a summary, is it? So you have to take time to work on this because it is a very important part of how you close your letter of appeal. It sums it up in a very brief way what you are requiring. and what you are appealing about. So in the summary, repeat only the necessary points that need to be emphasized, not all. Pick out those factors that are highly important, those key factors that you need to stress. That's the first thing that you can do. Then you would also, in your summary, include your contact details and where you can be reached. And in the usual way of closing, you would close off the letter by thanking the reader for their time. You don't want to say too much in your summary, too many thank yous and niceties and things like that. This is a letter of appeal, so your main point is to try to make the reader see why you're really writing this and what you feel has happened and what you feel should happen from now. We're going to take a look at this sample here in order to get an idea of how you format and how also you put together your letter of appeal. Here, this is quite a lengthy letter, and I do hope that you're able to read it. I think it's okay, and you can follow it. This is a letter by a student to Mr. Copeland, who is the Dean of the Academic Division at Chicago College University. And we will go through this letter so you can get an idea of what the appeal is about, how the writer is framing it, etc., etc. So in our first paragraph, we see that this young man is introducing who he is very quickly right in the first paragraph and what the issue is about. He says he is a senior, philosophy major, and he's taking a particular course under a certain professor. And he's writing, now the reason I am writing to you to appeal. I am writing to you because I am writing to you in order to. So these are the things that need to be said in this very first introductory paragraph. He's writing to appeal to Mr. Copeland to reconsider him retaking a final examination which was given out recently. So he has just put it in two very simple lines: who he is and what he's appealing about. So immediately we can see that the reader is going to have no doubt as to what he will need to follow up in the body of this letter. So everything is very clear and concise and precise at the beginning. Next paragraph, this is where the young writer opens up and tells him what the issue here is. He starts to describe the series of events that happened to bring this issue to the point that it is. He starts to give a detailed account of times and people and places and what happened in order that the reader can clearly understand the issue. He says here, I feel that Mr. Van Leer, who was his professor, did not give my situation proper respect and understanding that it truly deserves. On June 2007, at a certain time, and he's being very precise here, I was struck by a sedan doing 65 miles per hour on the way to university. He was hit by a car. He survived, but he fractured bones in his legs and his hips. And to validate that, he has enclosed the medical documents regarding his stay at St. Francis Hospital, included with this letter. So there you go. In that second paragraph, he's laying out the scene for the beginning of this particular issue. He was hit by a car and he was hospitalized. The evidence is there, he's enclosed the facts. He feels that his professor, Mr. Vanderleer, has not given this specific situation the proper consideration. Because of this setback, in the third paragraph, the result of that, now that we know the situation, the result of this caused him to reschedule all his exams for the following week and to move his exams further on while he was recovering. So this is what happened as a consequence of the initial car accident. He had his classmates send letters to his professor, all of his professors, requesting that the dates of his exams be postponed because he was in hospital and he was recovering. He states very clearly what happened. He said all of the professors, except for Professor Van Leer, who didn't even send a reply to his request, all of the professors agreed to postpone his exams for him. He continues to say that the doctors said it would take him at least 2 weeks to recover properly, and even if he did prepare for his exams for Professor Van Leer, he would not be able to produce proper results because of his serious condition. So here in this third paragraph, he has laid out what he tried to do. And he also gives details about how everybody except this particular professor came and helped him out in rescheduling his exams. He also gives evidence that the doctors at the hospital said he could not really sit for the exams anyway because of his condition. Now, in the next paragraph, here the young writer is stating what he thinks has gone wrong and what he thinks is the problem that makes him feel that he needs to write this letter. He feels that this is not really correct of Professor Van Leer not to extend his schedule. He's always done well in his exams in the past, and the risk of him failing the course and being prevented from graduating because not taking these exams is unacceptable to him. He is a good student, he wants to pass, and now he finds he's in this very serious situation, that this is unacceptable. He goes to back up that statement that he is making by saying that the university handbook, and he points to the actual parts of the university handbook. This is where you use your standards and your policies in your organization as well. So he points to the handbook's stated articles, which says that students who have medical emergencies prior to a particular exam will be given the option to reschedule that exam. So here, in a nutshell, in his fourth paragraph, he has got very clear evidence to back up his appeal. So as you can see now, we are working our way through the content of this issue. And now we can see that he has really researched and put all the facts together so he can present his appeal to the Dean of the Academic Division. In his final closing paragraph, he says that the medical situation which caused him to miss his exams was out of his control. It's a very simple fact. And he is appealing now, I would ask you to grant me another opportunity to take the final exam. This is very good English and a very assertive way and positive way of requesting something that you feel you deserve. He's not saying you should give me another chance to reschedule. He is saying, and being very professional, I would ask you to grant me another opportunity to take this final exam. He then continues to say he looks forward to meeting to discuss this matter. and feel free to call me with any questions. And finally, in his closing, which is the correct way to close, he says, I do appreciate the time that you have taken to read my appeal. And he has said this because there is quite a lot of information involved in this with the enclosures that he has added to his letter. Sincerely, Jordan Summer. And he has written enclosure. So here is a very vivid example of a letter of appeal. It is stating all those basic elements that are very, very important when you are writing such letters. It's clear, it's concise, there is a lot in there, but it has been not excessively done. It has been very to the point with all the necessary information at hand. These are important elements when you are writing an appeal. You do need to be able to present your case, and you do need also to be careful of the high emotions that can run a little bit wild in certain instances. In this particular case, the emotions, I'm sure, are running very, very high. However, this young man has put into the tone of his appeal letter a certain sense of urgency and seriousness and worry. We can see that he is quite worried, but we can also see that he is very level-headed. And he has prepared everything in a very positive way to try to get the best result. He firmly believes in what he is requesting is the right thing, and therefore has written it in a tone that is positive and not relenting or not giving up and not sitting back and just accepting that because his professor didn't grant him a rescheduled exam that he's going to give in to that. So there you have it, a letter of appeal. So please do use the guidelines that you see in this program to help construct some of those more difficult letters that you are going to have to write in your business activities, in the daily activities in your organization. Don't forget, if you also have some problems and you need a friend to give you some feedback, then by all means do that. Sometimes these letters do take quite a bit of time to construct because you don't want to make any mistakes and you don't want to miss anything out, especially an appeal letter where certain parts of it are very, very important and they can have very serious consequences. We're going to move on now to writing invitation letters. Invitation letters are very common kinds of letters. Actually, we write them quite frequently. Companies, organizations, people have parties, functions, events, and so there are many, many things going on all the time. And the purpose of writing an invitation letter is really when you feel that there's a lot more that you want to say rather than sending out the sort of conventional invitation card. A lot of those cards don't really have on them what we wish to say, and we do have to get them printed. And sometimes a printed card is limited by the space or the types of things that you can say on them. It conveys a lot more information than your traditional card, as I just mentioned. And so there are certain ways that we need to look at in terms of writing a specific invitation letter. There are two purposes in some ways to an invitation letter. The first purpose that we can see is that it is to invite the individual to the event. Of course, that is very, very obvious. And the second one is to ensure that the person receiving the letter is going to actually attend. It could be that this invitation letter is for perhaps a more serious event, a more elaborate, a more grand event. And maybe you would like to spend a little bit more time investing in giving them much more information. So you do need to have them attend. You may wish to have them attend too because it's a very special function and they would be a valued guest at that particular event. There are two tenses used in an invitation letter. We have the present and we have the future. So the present tense conveys information about the event and the future tense ensures the guest is going to attend. Let's look at a business invitation letter. It really is a formal way, quite formal, a formal way to invite peers and clients to events which will be hosted by your company, for example, and are one of the most popular ways of inviting guests to functions. There should be quite a formal tone to the professional invitation, even also when it's being sent out to friends and to family members. If the letter is also being sent to professional contacts, then it's also absolutely integral that the formality is kept there. People love to receive invitations, and sometimes you can get the very standard kind of invitation card, which everybody can more or less say from memory. But when you're writing a special invitation letter, you add a little bit more of a personalized approach to your invitation. And that actually reflects the professionalism of your particular company as well. So it's very good marketing in some ways as well, if you think of it that way. What you send out in your written form to all your clients or customers who you want to attend is also emphasizing your branding and emphasizing your image. And so therefore it can be used as a double-sided tool. So the introduction to a business invitation letter. It will allow the host and the sender to introduce themselves as well as the organization that they are representing. A simple background of the individual or company will be sufficient in this section of the letter. You don't need to go on in too much length or detail about who you are. Just keep it simple. That is one of the real key basics of a very good invitation letter. In the body of your letter, you have to outline all the important information about the particular event. Here you would look at the date and the time that should be included, as well as the theme and the purpose for the event. Sometimes events have themes, don't forget that. So people do need to know the theme. These can make events very successful and a whole lot of fun and make them even more special. So here, at this point, a date should be mentioned in which guests should also provide their reply back to your company by. And it also may contain any information regarding special roles played at the event, the attire, the dress code, and the items that the guest might be required to bring. Sometimes a guest may be invited to sit at a certain table, and this also may be highlighted in the invitation letter. So all of the things that you want to let that particular guest know about his involvement in the event should also be included here. So dress code, times, all of those sorts of things are very important in order to be able to make the information very, very clear to the guest. Sometimes too, don't forget that guests are asked to bring along something, an item that they should prepare. And so it's important not to forget this particular point. Next, in one sentence, the appreciation for the guest to attend the party should be shown. This can be completed with a formal note stating that you look forward to seeing that particular person at the event. And this needs to be in keeping with the same tone of the rest of the letter. You really need to say that you would value their attendance in view of their long-standing relationship with your firm and the fact that you value their input into the success of your company's business. Something like that. Anyway, you need to highlight the appreciation of that guest to attend that particular event. And at the conclusion should sign off, and a line there should tie the complete letter together, drawing the end of the invitation with a salutation and a signature, as we see in our normal business letter format. Let's take a look at this sample. This is a business-oriented invitation letter. And so we can start by reading it and seeing that it is in the usual format, the flush to the left side format, which is very appealing to the eye. So here we have Miss Susan Harris, who is writing to Miss Jodie Coling, who is President of Lockwood Health Association. And she says, "Dear Mrs. Coling." She has given the right salutation. She introduces who she is. "My name is Susan Harris, and I am writing on behalf of the students at Lockwood Middle School." And in the first paragraph, she goes straight in to the matter. "We would like to invite you to attend a special event being held at our school in a week's time." So right in the beginning of the first paragraph of this invitation letter, Mrs. Coling will understand exactly what she is wanted for, why she is receiving this invitation letter. The second paragraph goes on. It starts to explain why they are inviting her. "A significant amount of the students at the school have been working on a project which relates to the unemployment problem within Lockwood, that particular area." And now we come to the reason why she's being invited. You are invited to attend a presentation that will be held within the media room of the school, where several proposals will be presented and demonstrate the ability of the community to develop employment opportunities for the youth within the community. So this here is a very brief but clear way of describing what the event or the function is all about. In the next paragraph, at the presentation there will be several students receiving awards, and we will recognize them within the community, and these awards will be given from the mayor himself, the mayor of the community. Refreshments will also be available at the presentation. Now we come to the point as to why they are asking Mrs. Coling to attend. It says here, "as one of the prominent figures in the community." They're saying here, "We know that you are one of the prominent figures in this community, and therefore we would be very honored by your attendance. We would like you to attend." So this is really paying a compliment, and this is showing the appreciation to the guest as to why it is considered that they would be a very good guest and a very welcome guest to attend. In the closing it says, please reply, and it's very nice to include please reply by Monday the 26th of February to confirm your attendance of the function. We look forward to seeing you there. Sincerely. So here we have it, a very nice invitation letter. Now that letter, the contents of that letter, you could really not put in the form of a traditional invitation card. There'd be too much information, wouldn't there? And so your invitation card would be cluttered with all sorts of details and it would look very, very messy. Invitation cards really are meant to be quite brief and with only the precise information that's required. In a letter format, you can make the details much clearer, you can give some explanation, and without a doubt, this is very clear to Mrs. Coling about what is going on, what is going to happen, who is involved, and from the tone of this letter, she can gauge that the students are very, very happy and that Lockwood Middle School is very pleased and a very progressive kind of school. They want to go ahead with things. So she can feel the tone of Miss Susan Harris and also the tone of the school as well. This conveys a lot more information than just the pure standard invitation card, which is like a postcard size and you wouldn't be able to fit any of this on it anyway. So there we have a sample of an invitation letter geared around a business situation. The guidelines are easy to follow. Maybe you can use this as a guideline for how you write some of your future invitations. It is always a good thing to remember, if you want to write a special letter of invitation to someone, rather than using, as I said, the standard conventional cards, then you could choose some very nice paper as well on which to write this letter. Rather than using your standard stock white A4 paper, look at something that is a little bit more special, something that is thicker, something that has a better feel about it, and something that lifts up the level of the subject that you're writing about. That's something to bear in mind as well. But of course it does depend on how many letters of invitation you are sending out. But do think about that. It will lift the professional image that you are trying to convey to your readers and to your future guests at your function or event. Now let's take a look at a personal invitation letter. A personal invitation letter is, of course, more casual. However, it still follows along the same sorts of lines. Here we have a letter of invitation addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. It says in the first paragraph who the person is and why they are actually writing this letter. As the parents of the bride, I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to the wedding of our daughter, Sandra Green, to her fiancé Adam Locke. On this joyous occasion, we wish to share the day with our closest friends and family members. Now, this is very brief. You probably think, well, why couldn't somebody just put that in an invitation card? Usually, wedding invitations go out in a card format. Well, that might be the case. That might be the usual case. But don't forget, you can be different. If you wish to send letters out a bit differently and let them have a unique touch to them, then by all means write your own letter of invitation. The next paragraph goes on to say something really very nice. Children grow faster than any of us can imagine. The time is upon us to watch our child grow and flourish into a new stage of her life. He proposed while the two of them were on vacation. She happily accepted, and now they are to be married. Now, in that very lovely second paragraph, you can see that the writer is trying to put in some very nice meaning and tone into this letter, trying to make it feel very special. So here there is a lot of description as to how this particular situation, the wedding, came about. How did the proposal happen? In the third paragraph, and this is the final paragraph, it goes on to say, the formal event will be located at Fire Lake Golf and Country Country Club on the 15th of August at 3 o'clock. 2009. Now you notice here that the writer has not used numbers here. They've just kept it at using words to describe the dates. This is a choice of the writer, and this happens in some very formal types of writing. It purely is a choice of style. So it depends on who you are and how you wish to say these things. You can use just all words, or you can use numbering. Please reply, or we use the abbreviations RSVP, by the 15th of June to ensure attendance. And finally, it closes, we hope to see you there to enjoy this special day with friends and family. Now see how she has just given a lovely tone to this letter. We hope to see you there, full stop. That would end it in a very abrupt way. But what she has done is said, we hope to see you there to enjoy this special day with friends and family. So as you can see from this particular example, here we have a very unique style given to this personal invitation letter by the parents of the bride. It is a very nice way of, instead of using a traditional invitation card, they are writing an invitation letter. Maybe you might like to adopt this kind of approach to some of the more special events in your family or in your life. It really does reflect upon your image and the way you embrace these things. So many of us don't have time anymore to pay attention to these sorts of things. But in writing, in either business writing or in personal writing, you do need to give a little bit more to make things more unique and give them your image, a reflection of your image in the writing style. Invitation letters are usually used as an alternative, as I said, to traditional invitations. They give the host or the person who is holding the function, they allow them actually a different way of conveying their message. And this comes out in the tone of the letter. A lot of additional information and feelings actually can be given in this kind of invitation letter, much more than what is traditionally shared in a card. Cards are printed out, usually. They do look beautiful, of course, in certain situations, be it business or weddings or engagements, etc. But in an invitation letter, you can share a few little memories or anecdotes or softer feelings that will bring people closer together. So when they open that invitation letter, there's a lot more feeling and a lot more commitment, perhaps, and interest in coming along to the event. Remember that point as well, because you've explained it in detail and you've given that tone to it, then the reader will feel far more interested and will be more likely to accept. So when you are sending an invitation letter, however, do be sure to edit it completely. Go through it thoroughly, and to ensure that the punctuation is all correct, the grammar and the spelling errors, of course, are not there. If you use these techniques that we've just gone through in this invitation letter session, then you'll find that you should be able to create really good personal and professional invitation letters a lot more easily. These guidelines can help you follow how to put the first, the second, the third, the fourth paragraph in there, and what to put into those paragraphs. The guidelines will really help you plan out exactly what it is you want to say and in the right way, how you want to say it. Remember, communication is also from the tone of your letter. Contents is important too, but so is the tone. I certainly hope that you will be able to apply these guidelines very soon in your business activities and also perhaps in your personal life and your social engagements as well. Thank you very much for your kind attention.